I survived 100 days in a hardcore superflat world in Minecraft Bedrock Edition. This version has no structures, and in hardcore there is no bonus chest. So that I can beat the game, I added my own behavior pack, which is available in the description. It has a lava bucket trade from the Wandering Trader with some hidden extra trades, and end portal frames can be found in Bastion loot chests. Also, please like and subscribe. We passed 6,000 subscribers and we're aiming for 7,000. Now, without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy. I spawned in, and whilst getting raw food, I saw a pink sheep, which I killed. I spent the rest of the daylight killing all the passive mobs that I had access to, keeping all the wool dropped by the sheep. As night came, I dug into the floor and spent the whole night collecting dirt. As daylight returns and mobs start burning, I try to go back above ground, but I get jumped by 2 skeletons, so I hide and leave through another hole. I despawn the hostile mobs and then get back to collecting raw food during the day. Once night falls, I head back underground. I create some drop holes for mobs to fall down, placing carpet to stop baby zombies from being able to slip through. The system works, and I kill my first skeleton and zombie in between collecting dirt. I killed the mobs that fell into the mob drop trap, which took forever with no sword, but I did get my first piece of armor, which was a golden chestplate. I spent most of the day once again killing passive mobs for food and wool until the first Wandering Trader spawned in. I need emeralds, and the only way to get emeralds is through the Wandering Trader. They have an 8.5% chance to drop their milk bucket if I kill it whilst it's holding it or before they finish drinking it. I will make this 100% by saving the game and reloading if the Wandering Trader doesn't drop the milk bucket. This milk bucket can then be sold to another Wandering Trader for 2 emeralds if they have that trade available. If I sell 3 milk buckets, I can afford any of the 7 saplings that only need 1 sapling to grow for 5 emeralds, at a 7% chance each. Alternatively, I could buy 2 moss blocks, again at a 7% chance, and get wood from the azalea sapling, but as it is more likely a useful sapling will show on the list first, I will grind until I have at least 5 emeralds for the higher percentage offer. I tried to trap the Wandering Trader in a box and failed, so I dropped it into a hole instead. I got rid of the llamas and then hit the Wandering Trader 19 times to leave it at a 1-hit kill. Whilst building a dirt box around the trader, I was attacked by a slime, but after killing it, I managed to finish the box just before the night time. I left a secure gap and let the trader out of the hole, so once it saw a zombie, it would use an invisibility potion. Realizing it is hard to see the trader when it's invisible, I put the trader back into a hole and waited, messing with the floor and killing a few mobs whilst waiting for the daylight. I killed the Wandering Trader 6 times before realizing it wasn't using a milk bucket to come back visible. So I open the side to bring zombies close, make it go invisible again, and have it use the milk bucket to come back visible. The Wandering Trader was killed 13 additional times, 3 of them being to a zombie and 1 to a skeleton. On the 20th attempt, I finally got the milk bucket and I was so excited. I had a horrible fight with a skeleton in gold armor, so I ran away to despawn it. Once I had, I tore down the dirt box and went back to killing passive mobs. Once again, at night I went underground to remove dirt and kill hostile mobs. I tried to leave the underground spot but lost 4.5 hearts to a phantom, so I stayed underground and removed more dirt. When I came out, I got more food and then started counting out and placing an outline for a 2x2 chunk dirt roof. I did this until it got dark. The nighttime routine of collecting dirt and mob killing continued. I continued filling in the dirt roof, intending to make a mob farm. Lots of flat worlds use this pathfinding mob farm design by the black market, but it is made for Java. I tested this mob farm in a creative test world, and the rates on Bedrock were so bad that I decided this type of basic mob farm would actually be better for now. I hadn't even finished the roof before mobs started spawning, and then a Wandering Trader spawned on the roof. It had the milk bucket trade, so I got my first emeralds. I finished the outline of the structure and made a small interior box to drop the Wandering Trader into, which it actually politely did itself. I waited all night for the trader to drink from the milk bucket, but it didn't. So I got the zombies to scare the Wandering Trader again, and that fixed the milk bucket issue. It took 5 attempts to get the milk bucket this time, much better than the first attempt. I started placing carpet around the gap in the outside wall of the farm to stop baby zombies from leaving, but unfortunately I didn't have enough to finish all the carpet placing. I killed the remaining hostile mobs, slightly repaired my chestplate, and removed the interior box. I went back to killing passive mobs during the day until I saw a zombie in full chainmail. I killed it and got an almost full durability chestplate, so I switched it with my gold chestplate. Once night fell, I went back to expanding the underground box and killing mobs. Now it was daytime, I went back to killing passive mobs before opening sunlight spots on the roof of the hostile mob farm and finishing the carpet on the outer wall. After I stepped inside and began digging a 2-block hole around the inside wall of the mob farm. As night fell, I once again went underground killing hostile mobs and collecting more dirt. dirt. Day 8 was spent looking for sheep to kill for wool, and then night continued the pattern of going underground and killing hostile mobs and collecting more dirt. I continued doing the same on day 9, but went back to the mob farm to finish digging the drop area and place carpet once it was dug out. I dug out an area where I could whack the mob farms from, and whilst finishing the dirt roof, another pink sheep spawned in, so I killed it and finished the roof. I made a temporary staircase to the mob farm and closed it off once the night time came. I dug through to the other underground area to connect the two bases, and went back to killing hostile mobs, getting my first gold helmet from a skeleton. I can trade a lava bucket for 1 emerald from the wandering trader. However, I also need water. One of the best ways I can get water on a flat world is from rain filling a cauldron. I could get a bucket of pufferfish or a bucket of tropical fish at a 7% chance each from the wandering trader, but each trade requires 3 emeralds to buy it, and I already need 5 emeralds for saplings. The cauldron costs 7 iron ingots to make. Usually you need 10 iron ingots to also make a bucket, but I can get a bucket from the wandering trader with the lava trade. The hard part is zombies have a 0.83% chance of dropping an iron ingot without looting. This means I'm going to have to kill a lot of zombies to get all the iron that I need. I got gold leggings and boots from a zombie, giving me my first full set of armor. Understanding I need to get the hostile mobs' attention in the mob farm for them to drop down where I wanted them to, I began making a little dirt shack to keep me safe. Whilst killing a sheep for its wool, a wandering trader spawned in. Like normal, I stopped what I was doing to trap the trader. Traded the milk bucket for 2 more emeralds, taking the total up to 4, and then I hit it 19 times to lower its health. I actually got the milk bucket on the first attempt. With the trader gone, I tore down the dirt box. I spent the day killing hostile mobs in the farm and repaired some of my armor with their drops. I finished making the safe box and spawn proofed the inside with carpet. Spiders are a problem in this farm design, and they can get through the viewing gap, but once I drop down to the killing area, they aren't an issue as they don't fit. Just before the night fell, I got my first iron ingot, and later in the night, I got my first carrot drop. I searched for more wool before returning to the mob farm. I upgraded my leggings and boots to chainmail and got a flame bow. I stayed at the mob farm for a while until I wanted to get rid of the last chunk of dirt blocks I had left in the other underground section. Once removed, I went back to the hostile mob farm. I killed more passive mobs during the day, getting to 30 experience levels. I shot a zombie holding a spear and went to retrieve the loot because it dropped a red mushroom. Whilst doing so, I got hit by 2 phantoms, which not only broke my helmet, dropped me down to 3 hearts, and I panicked and ran back to the dirt box and healed. I placed the mushroom and closed off the block to the sky so it was in darkness. After, I expanded the hitting area by 1 block so I wouldn't get hit by hostile mobs so often. On day 14, I was killing more passive mobs when another wandering trader spawned in. Thankfully, once again I was able to sell the milk bucket to take me up to 6 emeralds. With no sapling trade, I was debating between buying the bucket of pufferfish so that I had water, which I could easily turn into an infinite water source with bone meal, or buying 8 logs at a much cheaper price of 1 emerald, giving me a crafting table and opening up farming. I trapped the wandering trader in a hole and built a box around it as I have done every other time. Whilst waiting, I made my decision and bought the 8 logs, leaving me with 5 emeralds. 5 emeralds still allows me to buy a sapling, especially if the next wandering trader doesn't have a milk bucket trade, and having access to farming opens up the hay bale trade, giving me more opportunities to get emeralds. It took 8 attempts to get the milk bucket this time. I removed the dirt box and then made a small dirt wall near the safety dirt box. I then made my first crafting table and boxed in the red mushroom. After that, I made a hoe and a bed. I went outside and planted the carrot and then got wheat seeds and filled the rest of the box with them. I bone mealed enough wheat to give myself 4 hay bales and then went back to killing hostile mobs. I knew I had 21 cherry planks and could have made a chest to store items, but I was worried about not getting a sapling, so I was still throwing excess items away. I expanded the area around the mob drop area until I remembered I had a bed, so after 2 failed attempts to sleep, I finally got to sleep. I tried to kill 2 witches and got hit by poison, but whilst waiting to heal, I got my first piece of cooked pork chop. I went back to killing mobs with my fist until I thought shooting them with the bow would be better. However, it rained, stopping me from being able to do that. I saw a witch in the farm and shot her with the bow, getting enough glowstone dust for a full piece of glowstone. I immediately put it next to the farm so the crops will continue to grow during the night. I went back to expanding the standing area around the mob farm and placed more carpet. I got an almost full durability unbreaking free bow from a skeleton and took the opportunity to grow the red mushroom above ground and ran off to sleep. In the morning, I tore down the mushroom and finished expanding the standing area in the mob farm shortly after, using it to kill a bunch of hostile mobs. I went above ground to check on the crops and saw a wandering trader had spawned in. The wandering trader had a cherry sapling, so I bought it and sold the milk bucket. I was so excited. I placed the sapling and bone mealed it before punching some of the logs. I noticed that the sun was setting, so I quickly trapped the wandering trader in a hole and built another box around it. I was able to trap the villager in a boat this time, so I knew exactly where it was even though I couldn't see it. However, I failed to get the milk bucket twice, with a skeleton killing it once. Before the third attempt, I made 2 wooden swords and had to lure a zombie over to scare the trader again. However, I got the milk bucket on the third attempt. Now having access to renewable wood, I made 2 chests and instantly cleaned up my inventory and made an axe and a shovel. I removed the wandering trader's dirt box and chopped down the rest of the cherry tree. I planted more saplings and grew them with the bone meal that I had. I repeated this until nighttime, where I went back into the shelter and killed hostile mobs. I made a bunch of axes, then a door so that I could get in and out of the dirt shack easier. I was jumped by a spider jockey, so I ran and hid in the wall. Whilst healing, the spider suffocated the skeleton, so I only had the spider to deal with. After, I spent all day chopping more logs and chose to sleep through the night. Day 20 was spent mostly chopping down more logs, but I did try to capture slimes in a boat to limit those spawns because they were getting annoying. I continued chopping logs on day 21 and also accidentally despawned all the slimes that I captured in the boats. So I removed the boats and continued chopping logs until a wandering trader spawned in just before nighttime. No longer wanting to deal with the whole process to get a milk bucket, I slept. I sold the milk bucket and bought 2 pieces of moss. Then I spent the rest of the day chopping more cherry logs. I will be building something similar to this old school mob farm by Aphips. Whilst it's not the exact one I will build, if you want an easy mob farm for Minecraft Bedrock Edition and you have access to wood, this is a great one to use. On day 23, I took all the wood and began building a general mob farm. I continued building into day 24 when I realized that I needed to make the area under the farm spawn proof, or else I was going to have a mob farm under the mob farm. I used a lot of shovels and quickly got the grass turned into path blocks. Then I went back to building the mob farm and continued into day 25 until I ran out of wood. I jumped down, planted a bunch of saplings and realized how late it was in the day, so I spent the night killing mobs, focusing mostly on skeletons so I could get bones. With more bone meal, I went back to chopping logs, and when I thought I had enough, I climbed back up to the top of the mob farm. I actually started building this level incorrectly, and it took me most of the night to realize that I'd done so. Then I set about fixing my mistake. This took me all the way into day 27, and then I went back to building the farm correctly this time, only being stopped because I ran out of wood again. After scarily being pushed off a ledge from my bed on day 28, I jumped back down to the ground to get more logs. After a short time, a wandering trader spawned in. It offered hay bales for emeralds and sold a lava bucket. I rushed for the supplies and traded with the wandering trader. With work still to do on the mob farm, I went back to chopping logs before making my way back up to the roof. I was trying to get a creeper to fall off the ledge in the mob farm, but it didn't fall. Instead, it exploded and caused a lot of damage inside the farm. I thought the creeper might not have walked off the ledge because I didn't set the trapdoors from the top of the block. So just to be sure, I changed them all inside the farm and fixed the damage as I did so. Afterwards, continuing with the roof, which took the rest of the day and night. The creeper explosion actually left me a few blocks short of being able to finish the roof, but that didn't take too long to sort out. I added some protective trapdoors on the bottom of the drop chute and then added fences and fence gates around the path block perimeter to stop slimes from attacking me whilst I was at this farm. I got myself some more wood and then added upside down stairs above the fences to stop spiders from being able to get over the fence and skeletons from being able to shoot me. I moved the carrots and wheat seeds into the mob farm area and bone mealed them so they covered a whole corner. I spent some of the night killing mobs before going to sleep. I was killing zombies and got a potato, so I planted it, bone mealed it and expanded its crop area to match the others. I spent the rest of the day at the mob farm before running around at night trying to kill more hostile mobs. I saw a full iron zombie riding a zombie horse, but unfortunately it didn't drop anything. I moved the glowstone to the carrot patch under the mob farm. Then I added trapdoors into the mob drop platform to make collecting items easier. I spent most of the day around the mob farm, taking some time to remove trees so that hostile mobs didn't have any dark spots to hide in under the day. I bone mealed carrots to make it my main food source, so I didn't have to spend time in the day killing passive mobs, and could instead be by the hostile mob farm. At night, I went back out to kill more hostile mobs. I added redstone torches around the edge of the mob farm for a small bit of lighting, after getting myself more carrots. A wandering trader spawned in and I traded 2 hay bales with it. I saw a zombie with iron armor in the old mob farm, but unfortunately it didn't drop anything, so I spent time killing the other mobs in the farm. I let an adult zombie into the dirt hut, but was double teamed by a baby zombie, which got me down to 2.5 hearts. I blocked off the passageway and healed before killing the other zombies. I continued killing hostile mobs during the night, even being able to add another piece of glowstone by the crops. I was getting so many items, I made another double chest for all the loot. I made a composter to get bone meal from all the extra cherry saplings that I've collected before getting more logs. I spent the rest of the day killing mobs at the mob farm. I made an underground pass from the new mob farm to the original underground section. Then I spent the rest of the day at the mob farm and the night running around killing mobs, not really getting anything good. Whilst I was putting holes in the roof of the old mob farm, a wandering trader spawned in, but it was completely useless for my current amount of emeralds and had nothing I could sell for emeralds. I went back to the new mob farm and got myself more carrots from the bones I had collected. A zombie in the farm dropped an iron spear, and it had decent enchantments. It had sharpness 2, lunge 3, and knockback 1. I got a second iron ingot from killing zombies by the fence gates. To celebrate, I went out with the spear and had fun with it, but I was taking far too much damage to continue using it. I gave myself new copper legs and sorted out my inventory before spending the rest of the day again at the mob farm. But this time, I got the third iron ingot that I needed, and once night fell, I ran around killing more mobs. Once it was day, I went back to the mob farm, getting enough bone meal to make myself 2 more hay bales ready for another wandering trader to spawn. I had a zombie drop a bunch of copper armor, and then 2 zombies later, I got the 4th iron ingot. I tried to get a baby zombie that was riding a zombie onto a chicken, but it was not interested in helping me get the lava chicken disc. Again, I spent the day at the mob farm and got my 5th iron ingot before going out at night to kill mobs. I got an iron sword drop and used it until it broke, before I got my 6th iron ingot drop on the same night. I ended the mob hunt after getting poisoned by a witch and getting down to 1 heart. I started the day at the mob farm before heading down into the original underground section. In there, I got jumped by a skeleton that had a gold helmet and chestplate, which got me down to 1.5 hearts. After bone meal and some carrots, I got the 7th iron ingot that I needed and immediately made a cauldron. Before I could even place it, it started raining. I took the lava bucket, temporarily placed the lava, and waited for the cauldron to fill up. I took the first water bucket, then the second, and had an infinite water source. I set up a cobblestone generator and made my first pickaxe of the entire world. I upgraded the pickaxe and covered the lava source. I collected a bunch of cobblestone and made a furnace. I cooked some of the logs that I had for charcoal. I was throwing out my wooden tools, I got jumped by a zombie, and this is when I found out that an enderman had made a hole that the mobs could drop down into the underground section. I closed it off and upgraded all my tools to stone. I took the charcoal and made torches. I lit up the ground below the mob farm because light can go through path blocks on Bedrock. I began adding water next to the carrot, wheat, and potato farms, but a wandering trader spawned in before I could finish doing it next to the potato farm. The trader offered emeralds for cooked potatoes, and as I now had a furnace, I could get more emeralds. I finished putting water by the potatoes, farmed and cooked them, and traded them with the wandering trader. I got my other emeralds and bought 8 sand. I added torches into the corner of the mob farm area and then built up to the mob farm. I placed 1 water bucket up top, went down, lit up the underground space, and went back up with another water source. I made an infinite water source in the sky, went into the mob farm, and added water into all the parts that push the hostile mobs into the killing chamber, making it more efficient. I replaced all the redstone torches with regular torches and continued placing torches around the mob farm area. I closed up the old mob drop holes in the underground space before going to the cobblestone generator and making more sets of tools. I made a bunch of fences and expanded the mob farm area, changing the size before sleeping. I added water to the crop areas and began changing where the upside down stairs were to match the rest of the area, making sure to light them up. I made another double chest and started separating my gold armor pieces. From here, getting villagers is my main priority. I need a weakness potion and golden apple to do this, as I have to cure a zombie villager. There is only one way to get apples. I need an oak sapling or 4 dark oak saplings from the wandering trader and have an apple fall from the despawning leaves. I would need 2 apples if I want to have enough villagers to have a villager breeder. Once I have the apple, the first option doesn't require me to leave the overworld. I would need to smelt down 72 pieces of gold armor into 72 nuggets. This makes 8 gold ingots, which is enough to make a golden apple. If I want 2 golden apples to have enough villagers for breeding, I would need 144 pieces of gold armor to smelt for 16 gold ingots. After this, I would need a bit of help from a witch. I would need the witch to hit the zombie villager with a splash potion of weakness before I could use a golden apple to start the conversion process. However, there's only a 25% chance a witch will actually throw a splash potion of weakness, and that's if I meet all the requirements. I have to be within 3 blocks, have 4 hearts or less, and can't already have the weakness effect for the potion to be thrown. The other potions a witch throws are poison and instant harming, which is what makes this method so dangerous. The second option is hoping the wandering trader has the 7% dripstone trade. With this, I can build a lava farm using the lava source, dripstone, and the cauldron. After getting 11 lava sources, I can use 10 to make a nether portal and the remaining lava source to light wood on fire and use fire spread to open the portal. Gold is not a worry, as I can get lots of gold from nether gold ore, even with a stone pickaxe, but I would need to find a nether fortress. From the fortress, I would need at least 2 blaze rods from blaze so that I can make and power a brewing stand. Weakness potions do not need nether wart, which is a massive help. For the 3 maximum bottles a brewing stand can have, I can smelt the sand I have stored if I don't have any remaining bottles from witch drops, so this is not a problem. The weakness potion requires a fermented spider eye, which is a combination of a spider eye from a spider or witch, sugar from a witch, sugarcane or honey bottles, and brown mushrooms which I can get from the nether, or from a wandering trader if it's offered. A piece of gunpowder would turn the potion into a splash potion. The second option is my preferred method. I will eventually need to enter the nether anyway, and that's to get the end portal frames from the bastions to get to the end dimension. I tilled the grass and added lighting on both sides. I planted carrots in one patch and wheat in the other, jumping on the tilled grass and turning it back into path blocks. I got hit with poison by a witch, so I had to heal up. After doing so, I made a second staircase in the dirt shack and filled in the water sections beneath the fences. I put torches under carpet in the corners of the farm. I killed pigs so I could have cooked pork chop. I cooked them whilst I began removing the old mob farm, which still broke so many shovels. I finished tearing down the roof and closed off the dirt shack. I removed the bottom dirt layer and then removed all the carpet from the drop area. Filled the drop area in with the dirt and used some of the carpet to spawn proof the top of the dirt shack. I placed a load of torches down to help prevent hostile mob spawns in the night and then removed the fences around the crop farms as I didn't like them and instead placed carpet. I decided I also didn't like the carpet and changed the area to path blocks. I added potatoes to the crop field with the carrots and then decided I didn't like that either. I picked up all the potatoes, carrots and wheat seeds and put them into strips instead. I checked on the red mushrooms and removed the wall once I noticed light was coming through the path blocks. I made a little spot for my bed and slept. I turned the old potato patch into path blocks and filled in the water sections. I got a bunch of stairs and fences from the underground storage, chopped logs and killed pigs. I expanded the mob farm area on the opposite side to the crop farms, once again choosing to make it one longer than I initially did, removing the old stairs and fences and adding in torches under the path blocks. I made a fenced area and in total sectioned off 3 areas with slabs. I moved the cobblestone generator and added a section for a crafting table, furnace, campfire and my bed. I then added chests for storage. I collected 2 pigs and placed them into the fenced areas and began breeding them. I started organizing my loot into the chests, even going to collect more logs to make more chests. I added signs so I could identify the loot easier. I decided I didn't like the campfire and moved the double chest, keeping my more important items in this one. I started moving all the items from the underground space into the new storage area. I spent the next full day completely reorganizing my chests from the underground space to the new location. I then blocked off the staircase from the dirt shack and filled in the passage I made to the original underground space from the mob farm. I collected crops and expanded the crop farms, almost completing them all and making 4 hay bales. As I was coming back from killing mobs, a wandering trader spawned in. I was able to sell cooked potatoes, hay bales, and I bought myself 8 red sand and a blue orchid. I tried to scam a milk bucket from the wandering trader, but it wasn't scared of the mobs, so I killed it. I removed the dirt shack and moved the first flowers to the outside of the mob farm. The rest of the day was spent around the mob farm and crop fields until night time, when I ran around killing a bunch of hostile mobs trying to get more gold armor pieces. I spent the day running around with the flame bow to get more cooked pork chops, and as night fell I began smelting the gold armor pieces, resulting in 2 gold ingots. Spent the rest of the night around the mob farm, breeding pigs and collecting drops in between killing mobs. I spent the early morning collecting cobblestone and the rest of the day killing mobs, breeding pigs and occasionally tending to the crop farms. During the night I focused on trying to kill any hostile mobs that had gold armor, and I got a few pieces. On day 53 I continued at the mob farm. Whenever I finished with the mobs I would look out for a wandering trader. I would breed pigs and collect crops again when it was possible. I got an impressive blast protection 4, respiration 3, aqua affinity and unbreaking 3 gold helmet, which I set aside in case I was able to go into the Nether. I was smelting down more gold armor when a wandering trader did spawn in. I finished smelting the gold armor pieces to make my 3rd gold ingot. Then I traded 2 water bottles for emeralds. After this excitement I spent the whole day and night killing mobs, organizing any drops from the mobs and tending to my crops. The grind of waiting for wandering traders or mobs in the mob farm continued into day 55. To change it up I went out during the night, only killing mobs with iron items or gold armor pieces, getting a decent amount of stuff. As the sun rose I went and smelted the iron items to get myself an iron ingot. Then another wandering trader spawned in and I was able to sell hay bales and cooked potatoes and bought 8 more sand. With that complete I went back to waiting for mobs at the mob farm. I smelted the stack of uncooked pork chops I had in storage and then went out to fight mobs during the night. The best drop I got from the night was a silk touch iron shovel, so I got myself a grass block and put them both in the important things chest. I chopped down all the trees and planted saplings on the other side of the mob farm area, in chunks that are loaded more often. I smelted some of the excess logs for more charcoal and added more torches around the new saplings. After, I spent my time between the mob farm and collecting saplings that fell. At night, I headed out and got an iron tool and chainmail armor drop alongside lots of golden armor drops. I came back to the mob farm and spent some time tending to the crops. I collected a spare bucket of water and removed the cauldron. I started adding more fences on top of the upside down stairs and expanded the mob farm area even further. A wandering trader spawned in and had the best combination of trades possible with my level of emeralds. I had 13 emeralds and I bought 3 brown mushrooms, leaving me with 12 emeralds. I made a large brown mushroom and got loads more small brown mushrooms. I combined 2 of them with 2 pieces of sugar and 2 spider eyes to make 2 fermented spider eyes. I got 2 water bottles as well and sold all of them for 8 emeralds, taking up my total to 20 emeralds. This meant I had enough emeralds to buy 4 of the dark oak saplings offered by the wandering trader. I made 2 more fermented spider eyes for any potential trades in the future. I planted and bone mealed the dark oak saplings. I collected the logs, but I was worried about how many saplings would fall. Continued with adding fences on the mob farm wall, immediately dropping down to get any dark oak saplings. Whilst building the fence, I noticed skeletons spawning in the rain. I didn't want to deal with a thunderstorm, so I slept. I finished with 6 dark oak saplings, so I planted and bone mealed 4 more, collecting the logs after. I finished the fences around the mob farm and had an apple drop from the dark oak tree. I added in a cherry slab border around the pigs and storage. Then I set up a 5x5x5 fishing area that would enable me to fish and have access to the treasure loot table. I extended the cherry slab border, made a fishing rod, then moved my bed, crafting table and furnace. I did a small bit of fishing before heading out to kill mobs, stopping to get dirt and then going back to fill in a creeper hole. I chopped down a dark oak tree, moved the important stuff chest to be by my furnace and crafting table, and then chopped down another dark oak tree. I went back to fishing and killing hostile mobs in the farm after. When I was fishing at night, I saw a skeleton wearing full diamond armor. The problem is there was a spear wielding zombie riding a zombie horse, which made me apprehensive of running out to challenge it because it took 4 hearts of my health, and unfortunately the skeleton despawned before I ever got a chance to fight it. So I killed the zombie through the fence gate with my bow. I went back to killing other hostile mobs in the mob farm and got poisoned by a witch. I healed whilst fishing, then after getting another pair of golden boots, I put a bunch of gold armor in the furnace. This took my total up to 4 ingots. I got a saddle from fishing and then a wandering trader spawned in. I was able to sell 2 fermented spider eyes, but there wasn't anything I wanted to buy right now. I went back to fishing and killing mobs during the day. I went out at night, shot at a zombie on a zombie horse, and another skeleton wearing a diamond helmet spawned in. Unfortunately, it didn't drop the helmet after I bowed it to death. After killing the second zombie on a zombie horse, I went to make leather horse armor. I then tamed the zombie horse and I rode around on it during the night. If you made it this far in the video, drop a name for the horse in the comments and I will choose the best one for the next 100 days video. After being poisoned by a witch, I headed back home to the mob farm. I spent day 63 going between the fishing pond and the mob farm. At night, I took the horse out and killed a lot more hostile mobs with iron items, gold or copper armor. As it's now pretty much a waiting game during the day, day 64 once again had me going between the fishing pond and the hostile mob farm. Once night fell, I went back out on the horse and collected a lot more useful drops from the hostile mobs. I collected enough iron and chainmail items to get 1 more iron ingot. Once that was done, day 65 followed the same as the 2 before, going between the fishing pond and the mob farm. Although I did get a lore-free unbreaking free fishing rod whilst fishing. Once night fell, I went back out on the horse to collect more useful hostile mob drops. Day 66 started with me doing what I had been for the last few days until a wandering trader spawned in. This wandering trader had all the trades that I'd been waiting for. I bought myself all 10 pieces of dripstone that I could, sold 2 water bottles and 2 hay bales, then got myself a piece of sugarcane and a melon seed too. I placed the cauldron, collected some more cobblestone before removing the lava source in the cobblestone farm, and in no time had finished making a super simple lava farm. I took the remaining dripstone and made a super simple dripstone farm, and almost immediately after building it, I could collect a piece of dripstone. Once these were done, I went and chopped a bunch of logs before heading out at night to kill mobs, again getting more iron items and gold armor. When I came back to the base, there was already lava waiting in the cauldron, so I took it with a bucket and set up 10 spaces for lava sources. I went over to the crops at the mob farm and began expanding the base even further, chopping down the old wall in the process. It didn't take too long to get all this done. Then, whilst sorting my inventory, another lava source appeared in the cauldron, so I took it. Whilst removing the grass, it became clear these 2 new sections would be built above the original underground space. It took some tinkering, but I finally came up with a design I was happy with for the melons to go in. I added a bunch of torches underground as the light would go through the tilled grass. I got an iron ingot drop and had enough to make a second cauldron, so I expanded the lava farm using one of the lava sources that I'd already collected. I bone mealed the melon seed and began setting up a super simple sugarcane farm. I made a lot more torches to light up the underground space. After no time at all, I added in the piece of sugarcane and finished setting up the rest of the farm for the future. I was changing the grass to path blocks around the base to help prevent spawns when another lava source was available in the cauldron. After that, I went back to fishing and killing hostile mobs in the farm, and on one occasion I got loads of gold armor pieces. Unfortunately, during the night I broke my lore-free fishing rod and had to go back to the old unenchanted fishing rod. I had my first melon grow. I took all the melon slices, turned them into melon seeds, and then bone mealed them all. I went back to the mob farm, got hit by a splash potion of poison, and had a creeper blow up the chute, releasing the witch. I ran out of the mob farm area and despawned the mobs. I quickly repaired the drop chute and replaced the path blocks underneath the farm. Another lava source was available, so I took it, then shortly after moved it into the cobblestone generator. I tended to all the crops after leaving them for so long, and then got some more cobblestone. Another wandering trader spawned in, and I sold 2 hay bales, buying a spruce sapling shortly after. I went back for some cooked potatoes and sold them too. I happily planted the spruce sapling, knowing with 4 saplings I can grow big spruce trees and have easy access to lots of logs. I got some more cobblestone and kept breeding the pigs. Another melon grew, and I was able to fill the whole area I made for melon. melons. I chopped down spruce trees until I got 4 saplings, and then made a floating platform for the large spruce trees so that the surrounding grass wouldn't become podzol. I spent time at the mob farm and collected more cobblestone until another lava source was waiting in the cauldron. Once I moved the lava, I went back to cobblestone mining. On day 71, I started digging out a large space next to the mob farm area. Once night fell, I thought it would be a good idea to protect the stems of the melon seeds, so I placed trapdoors over them. Then I stared at the cauldrons to get them to fill, which didn't work. So I bred the pigs, got more cobblestone, and after killing hostile mobs in the farm, I slept. I bred more pigs before going back to continue the digging project I started. To run away from a slime, I went into the mob farm area and saw that a lava source was in the cauldron, so I took it out and then continued digging. Once it became nighttime, I bred the pigs again and accidentally opened the fence gate. However, I did manage to get all the pigs back into the pen. Shortly after, another lava source was available. I moved it and went back to mining cobblestone when I faintly heard a wandering trader had spawned in. I had some annoying mobs that I had to deal with before I could interact with the wandering trader. I went back for items to trade with it and another lava source was waiting. I moved it and then traded 2 water bottles and 2 fermented spider eyes with the wandering trader. I bought 2 more dripstone and 16 sand. With the new items, I extended the dripstone farm to have 2 hanging pieces and speed up the farm. After all the excitement, I went to continue digging the last layer of grass and dirt. When I was close to the mob farm area, I had a quick look and saw that the cauldron was filled with another lava source, so I took it out and went back to digging. Later, I also noticed a piece of dripstone had grown, so I mined it, and then again went back to digging. I had so much dirt that I needed to add another double chest just for the dirt. Then I thinned the pig pen before it became too overcrowded because the noise is very loud. Whilst there was a thunderstorm, the final piece of lava that I needed was in the cauldron. I started making an area to build a nether portal that would not catch my wall on fire. I got the bottom 2 pieces of obsidian in and then did the dumbest thing ever, which was misplacing the lava, meaning I needed another lava source to go to the nether. As punishment, I stood and mined the obsidian block with my stone pickaxe for almost 45 seconds, feeling all the shame in the world. I added most of the obsidian to the portal, leaving the cobblestone generator lava source and the 2 in the lava farm. As I needed another lava source, I went back to digging. Once I'd removed all the grass, I added water into the hole, filling the bottom layer and then the top layer. I ran back for some bone meal to add seagrass and coral to the bottom of the new lake. Once night fell, I went to farm cobblestone from the generator and after some time, a wandering trader spawned in. I traded 2 fermented spider eyes for emeralds and then bought a beetroot seed. I went back to the cobblestone generator before cleaning up the sugarcane farm and trampled crop fields. One more lava had dripped into the cauldron, so I took it and added it to the portal frame. I took the 2 lava sources and added them to the top of the portal, and with some planks and the last lava source, I lit the portal. I cleaned up the area after. After sleeping, I put the last lava source into the lava farm. I prepared myself to enter the nether, taking the incredible golden helmet and making a shield. I went through the portal and it was a pretty good spawn. I could see a way out above, but I wanted to get rid of the flowing lava before I did anything else. I collected it and took it back to the overworld, putting it in the lava farm. I decided to make some extra tools and smelt the golden armor I have in the chest to make 6 gold ingots in total. Whilst waiting, I made 2 bundles to take with me. Back in the nether, I pillared up out of the hole in the ceiling and immediately saw a bastion. I found a piglin and bartered the gold ingots, aiming to get a fire resistance potion, which I did. Once I'd bartered the rest of the gold, I moved away and found a cave entrance that took me back to my portal. I placed many torches to help me identify this later. Shortly after, I saw another bastion, but as I wanted a fortress, I kept on going, collecting gold nuggets along the way. I came out of a crimson forest and in front of me, to the right, was a nether fortress. It didn't take too long before I got to the edge of the fortress with a blaze spawner right in front of me. I quickly got my first blaze rod, but I was scared of being too confident and rushing in. I had a slightly scary moment when I got hit by a blaze and had a gas shooting at me, but I got to cover quickly enough. I made my way into the nether fortress and carefully added netherrack to block wither skeletons, and picked up my second blaze rod. I was pushed back by magma cubes and a skeleton, but I was genuinely concerned after a blaze followed the skeleton and they got me down to around half health. I blocked myself into the wall and regrouped. I got my third blaze rod coming out of the wall. Some piglins helped me by killing the wither skeletons when I was ambushed by some blaze. I blocked off one of the walkways and multiple blaze followed. I had to set up a second blocked off area and bow them. I blocked off the spawner and left with 7 blaze rods in total. Whilst heading back to the portal, I hit a ghast with its own fireball to get the Tears music disc. I also kept stopping to collect any gold nuggets that were easily mineable. I stopped to do some more bartering with excess gold ingots, but I didn't really get anything. I left the nether, slightly organized my inventory and filled in the lava holes. I made a golden apple, a brewing stand and accidentally made 4 blaze powder for the brewing stand. I brewed up 3 potions of weakness and placed them into one of the cauldrons to make 64 weakness arrows. I waited for a zombie villager to drop down the mob farm chute and made a bed whilst waiting. When one dropped, I opened the trapdoor and then a second one dropped and I secured them both. I used a bow and a lead to get one of the zombie villagers villagers in a boat. I shot it with the weakness arrow and it died, which completely confused me, and that's when I remembered the drop gets the zombies down to low health. I went to make 3 more weakness potions, but this time turned them into splash potions instead. I collected the second zombie villager in the boat and this time hit it with the splash potion and the golden apple. On a single player world on Bedrock, currently you can leave and rejoin immediately and have the zombie villager instantly converted instead of having to wait. I took the villager about 150 blocks away from the mob farm area and created a block for it to live in for the time being. I wanted a farmer villager and rolled the trades until I had apples and golden carrots available, with carrots or potatoes as the first trade. Once I had it ready, I went back to the base for potatoes and emeralds. Back at the farmer, I locked in the trades and bought extra apples. I added a trapdoor so I could get out of the villager box easier and then put a dirt roof above the box in case of lightning. I made a second golden apple and a smoker. I got enough wool to make 2 more beds. A wandering trader spawned in and I sold cooked potatoes for 2 more emeralds. Eventually, a zombie villager fell from the mob chute and I secured it in a boat. I tried to convert the zombie and when leaving, my game crashed. So I converted the zombie a second time, thankfully this time with no issues. I shot a zombie with a spear and got the drop. This gave me 9 iron items I could smelt for another iron ingot. With the sun rising, I took the second villager to the villager box and placed down both beds. I placed down the smoker and almost had the farmer sneak out on the trapdoor whilst I was making a new pickaxe. I rolled the butcher until it offered the cook pork chop trade and locked in the trades. I removed the pigs in the mob farm pen and put 1 singular sheep in. I made a pair of shears, started shearing cherry leaves until the shears broke and then collected a bunch of logs. I expanded the storage area slightly before preparing items to start my next project. In a different direction, I moved another 150 blocks away from the mob farm to not have any issues in the future with villagers linking incorrectly to the wrong village. I set up a small workstation and made an armor stand and banner to help me identify chunk borders. I'm doing this by using Foxy No Tail's marker pack. I lay out the border for an iron farm killing chamber and set up the cobblestone markers to show the borders of the 2x2 chunks. I placed the chests and built up the killing chamber, leaving space for future hoppers. I added signs, counted out the spawning platform, raising the corners before adding a border around the whole platform and spawn proofing it with carpet. I made a temporary platform to place the 20 beds needed for the villagers to link with. I placed cherry leaves on top of the beds to make a box that will house all 20 villagers and give them access to their workstations, but I did not place the workstations in yet. I built a small roof above the box and then removed the temporary platform that was underneath the beds. I made an infinite water source under the iron farm and placed the water onto the spawning platform, which will push the golems towards the killing chamber. I got more emeralds from the butcher and then entered the Nether. I went in to get gravel and flint, being rudely interrupted by a couple of ghasts in the process. Once back in the overworld, I got a lava source from the lava farm and kept breaking gravel until I had 40 pieces of flint, which will make 20 fletching tables. Whilst it was still dark, I did a little bit of crop farming and took the carrots over to the first 2 villagers. I gave them the carrots and they started breeding. I placed a boat outside of a 1-block hole and the baby villagers, whilst trying to escape, politely trapped themselves in the boat. I took the baby villagers to the iron farm, placed in the fletching tables and let them loose inside the box. Once I removed some of the scaffolding, I put the lava into the killing chamber. I made a small AFK box under the iron farm to have the baby villagers loaded whilst I bone mealed carrots. Once I had 9 stacks of carrots, I left the box and saw a wandering trader. It had a cactus trade and I bought it. I made ladders up the broken cobblestone scaffolding and shortly after I jumped to the box, the second baby villager grew. I immediately threw all the carrots at the villagers and they started breeding. I stood over the box whilst baby after baby after baby popped out from the villagers. I jumped down when a wandering trader came into view and I bought 2 small drip leaves and 3 cyan dye. I went back up to the box and watched the baby villagers grow, one by one. And once I realized that more than 10 had grown, I jumped down to the bottom of the iron farm. With the cyan dye, I made a bed with my favorite color. Iron golems were starting to drop iron in the farm, so I dug in to go and collect the ingots. I decided to move the chests around in the iron farm to face the mob farm area and then headed back to that area briefly to get logs. Once I had 45 iron ingots, I made 9 chests and turned them into 9 hoppers, automating the iron farm collection system. I spent the rest of the night AFKing the iron farm. I took the iron and headed back to the mob farm area. I opened Foxy No Tail's marker pack and outlined a 2 wide chunk area for the future trading hall. I chopped down some trees, made some shears and then began shearing sheep. I took 2 baby villagers from the breeder and made a temporary box around them before chopping more logs. I bone mealed carrots in preparation for more breeding before letting creepers make holes. I dug out a small area to begin a simple layout of how I want the trading hall to look in the future. When I was happy with it, I let another creeper explode and dig out some more space. I spent some time getting flint and made 3 more fletching tables. I threw the carrots to the farmer and butcher and got more wool from the sheep, making multiple beds to put down in the breeder. I took 3 baby villagers back to the mob farm area and built another temporary box around them. I chopped down the large spruce tree twice twice, and as night fell, I went back to being around the iron farm to let the babies grow. I was killing skeletons for bones when I killed a zombie with an enchanted iron sword. It dropped the sword, and now I had a sharpness-free, unbreaking-free iron sword to kill mobs with. I went back to the mob farm area, and the baby villagers there were beginning to become adults. I trapped the first villager and made it into a Fletcher with no issues. I almost completely released the second villager, but was able to push it back into the box. After, I trapped it and locked it in as a Fletcher. More carrots were taken to the breeding villagers, and I took 2 baby villagers out. Whilst putting the boat for the next babies down, a wandering trader spawned in. The only thing I bought was a golden dandelion. I was about to leave with 3 baby villagers when the breeding villagers showed the heart animation. So I waited for the 4th baby to get in the boat and then took them over to the mob farm area, once again giving them their own temporary box. Once that was done, I went back to the iron farm and AFK'd. I took the iron from the farm and headed back to the mob farm area. I expanded my sugarcane farm, then did some cobblestone mining at the generator. I made 2 blast furnaces, a grindstone, and a smithing table. I chopped cherry logs and then another large spruce tree. I traded sticks for more emeralds, and whilst doing so, the babies in the other box grew into adults. I trapped and locked in the first armorer with a diamond boots and diamond helmet trade. A single bedrock armorer does not offer all the diamond armor pieces, so I have to have a second armorer. I trapped the villager linked to the blast furnace and did the same for the 3rd villager in the box. I then rolled the armorer villager until I had a diamond leggings and diamond chestplate trade available. I turned my attention to the 3rd villager and made it into a weaponsmith. These villagers are much easier as they always offer diamond axes and diamond swords. I spent some time smelting some of the iron armor pieces into nuggets before locking in the weaponsmith and upgraded my stone axe to iron in the process. I finished smelting the nuggets and gave myself 2 more iron ingots. I leveled both armors to journeyman level and the weaponsmith 1 trade short of apprentice. With some dark oak logs from the storage area, I got more emeralds alongside opening the string trade on one of the Fletchers. I went back to the weaponsmith, but as it now increased the axe trade price, I decided to make it wait. With 3 villagers needing iron as the main trade, I stayed around the iron farm to keep it loaded whilst killing mobs. As the sun was setting, I went into the makeshift box and AFK'd through the night. I didn't get as much iron as I hoped for, but it was a decent amount. I took the raw food and traded with the butcher for extra emeralds. I made a chest and left the extras. I got back to the temporary boxes and killed a nitwit. I leveled up both armors to expert and bought an iron sword to level up the weaponsmith before continuing to level it up to journeyman and maxing out the iron trade. I bought a pair of unbreaking free diamond leggings and a pair of projectile protection 1 diamond boots from the armorers. Knowing I needed a lot more emeralds to complete my diamond armor set, I went to chop down the large spruce tree. A wandering trader spawned in and I sold hay bales and fermented spider eyes to get some much needed extra emeralds before trading sticks to the Fletchers. This was when I noticed the string trade, so I went and got all the string from the storage area. I took the 2 lava sources from the cauldron and sold them to the armorers. By this time, the villagers in the other box had all grown. I made one of them into a toolsmith and trapped it. I need 3 specific trades from the toolsmith to give me access to all diamond tools except the diamond spear. I needed to have a diamond hoe, diamond shovel, and diamond pickaxe. Once it had those, I locked it in and traded it up to journeyman level. I made the next villager into a Fletcher and trapped the last one. Whilst making the next villager into a Fletcher, I was jumped by a baby zombie riding a spider. Thankfully, it didn't get to any of the villagers. I traded with both of the villagers to get the emerald count up and then bought a diamond hoe. I killed skeletons for bones so that I could chop down another large spruce tree, desperately needing emeralds. I traded with the Fletchers that were 32 sticks for an emerald and went off killing passive mobs when this was done. I went over to the villager breeder to see if I could see any raw food, but unfortunately, I couldn't. I farmed and fixed up the crop patch in the mob farm area. With the potatoes I just collected, I went to trade with the farmer, leaving the carrots so they can breed when I reload the area. After I went to the iron farm and removed the floating cobblestone, now that all the villagers were grown and had linked to the job blocks. Then I AFK'd because iron is so important for the armorers, weaponsmiths, and toolsmith villagers. With the iron, I headed back, taking a small detour via the butcher, but again, the trades were locked. I traded the iron and bought the projectile protection 3, unbreaking 2 diamond chestplate before doing the same with the other armorer and buying the protection 2 diamond helmet, giving me full diamond protection. Then I did a max iron trade with the toolsmith and bought an efficiency 1 diamond shovel. I then traded the rest of my iron with the weaponsmith and bought a sharpness 2 efficiency 2 diamond axe. I went back to the breeder and built up a large spruce tree platform and chopped down 3 spruce trees. I caught 2 baby villagers in a boat and took them over to the other villagers, trapping them in their own temporary box. I traded sticks with the Fletchers before heading back to AFK the iron farm. With almost a stack of iron, I went back to trading with the villagers. I traded more sticks with the Fletchers and iron with the weaponsmith to get it to master level. This is when Then a wandering trader spawned in and I bought a bucket of pufferfish. I went back to the weaponsmith and I bought a sharpness 1 diamond sword. I traded more sticks with the other Fletchers, leveled the toolsmith up to master level and bought an efficiency 2 diamond pickaxe, giving me full diamond tools and armor minus the spear that I mentioned earlier. I made a stone cutter and chopped down the large oak and large spruce trees. I made a double chest and put the logs in there, next to the pond. During the night, I went back to the iron farm and got a small amount of iron in the chests. I changed my helmet and made a quick trip to the Nether for some gold, accidentally upsetting a bunch of piglins in the middle of it all. With a decent amount of nuggets, I decided to go back to the overworld. I used the gold to make 2 golden apples and took the splash potion of weakness in the brewing stand. I killed a bunch of zombies outside of the boxes, keeping one with a helmet. I punched it and had it follow me and had it drop into the villager box. I released one of the armorers and after some time, the zombie lost its aggression on me and attacked the villager. I almost made a huge mistake. The zombie villager was burning in the daylight, but I quickly got a roof over the box and the zombie villager stopped burning before it died. I then released the weaponsmith and the zombie happily converted it into a zombie villager. With 2 zombie villagers, I killed the zombie. I flew the splash potion at the roof and only hit myself. I made the walk of shame and made 3 new splash potions of weakness. I went back and actually splashed the zombie villagers this time and hit them with the golden apples after being smacked off the wall. Thanks to the save and quit instant curing feature, I didn't have to worry about one zombie villager curing before the other and I put them both back into their spaces. I had to pick up the workstations as one of the new adult villagers had linked to it. I then placed a stone cutter and a composter to be able to place the job blocks back down. I got the villagers out of the boat they were in and trapped them in the corners of the box. I placed the stone cutter and locked in the mason when I realized I'd made a mistake by not having the final trade as a block of quartz. So the villager disappeared. I locked in the correct trades and moved the mason into the other box with a little bit of hassle. I went over to the iron farm as the darkness was falling and AFK'd in the box. I went back to the pond and began laying out a platform with the spruce logs as support beams and then used dark oak slabs to join them together. I went back to the breeding villager area and took one of the babies over to the trading boxes. As I needed the baby to grow, I spent the night in the villager boxes. Whilst back in the mob farm area, this was the first time I noticed that no melons had grown in a lot of days, and it was because of the upside down stairs. I removed the upside down stairs and placed dirt in the spaces instead. Before I even finished placing the dirt, a melon had grown. I went back to the platform and started making the house part of the build when a wandering trader spawned in. I traded 2 fermented spider eyes before going back to working on the house, putting in the door and then working on the lower level of the roof. I added in the chimney and then finished the rest of the roof. I added trapdoors over the windows before adding my cyan bed to the room. I took the moss blocks, built up and bone mealed the moss. It gave an azalea sapling and I bone mealed that so I could have access to oak wood. As night fell, I went back to the villager boxes to get the baby to grow. Once it grew, I went to farm the sugarcane, made a few different job blocks and chose to make the villager a librarian. The first enchanted book it offered was fortune free, but I was here for lanterns and glass, so I broke the lectern and went again. Amazingly, I was able to lock in fortune 2 as the enchanted book trade alongside lanterns and glass. I made oak fences and an oak fence gate and added them to the house, mostly to keep the slime out and give me another safe area from the hostile mobs. I added a smoker, blast furnace and trapdoors to the inside of the house. I made chests and then added them above the trapdoors for storage. I made a campfire and added it to the top of the chimney, covering it in trapdoors. I bone mealed sugarcane and had enough paper to level up the librarian. After that, I bought all the lanterns and glass that I could. I made 3 item frames and placed the Tears music disc and a clock in 2 of them. I put a lantern inside the house and around the outside and on the end pillars until I ran out. I put glass panes into the windows, made myself another cyan bed, then wandered over to the iron farm where I slept the rain away. I wanted to get enough iron to make an anvil, so I AFK'd at the iron farm. Once I had enough for an anvil, I checked the trades of the librarian, but they were locked, so I slept. Now morning, the trades had refreshed, so I brought out the lanterns again. I placed lanterns into the remaining spaces around the house, added the anvil to the inside of the house, then noticed I had missed 3 oak fences, so I fixed that. I made a golden carrot, tried to fix my door position, and failed to notice that I did it wrong a second time, but then I named the golden carrot Inspiration is Your Only Limit and placed it into an item frame on the chests above the door. Over at the iron farm, I placed moss into the floor and bone mealed it. I collected all the moss, replaced the hole with dirt, and repeatedly bone mealed more moss to get more moss blocks. Once it became nighttime, I split my time from being in the box and killing mobs until I had almost a stack of iron. I went around the edge of the pond and started replacing the grass with the moss blocks I'd just gotten. I traded some of the iron, bought more lanterns, and continued replacing the grass with the moss, briefly stopping to pick up the dirt that had fallen into the pool. This is when I realized the door was completely wrong and finally fixed it before finishing swapping grass for moss. I then added hidden lighting around the pond using lanterns under moss carpet. I took the lava out of the cauldrons and the lava farm so that I could remove it completely. In its place, I was going to build Silent Whisperer's instant lava farm. I followed the material list and collected a bunch of items. I had to briefly head to the Nether for quartz because I wanted to make the farm out of smooth quartz blocks and my mason wasn't at master level yet. I began making the farm and realized I am terrible at following material lists, so I had to go and get a few more items. It wasn't too long before I thought I had the farm ready to go and was wrong. The cauldron isn't supposed to fill with water, but it would help if I filled the second dispenser with an empty bucket like it shows in the tutorial. I tried again and it still didn't work, so I switched the water and empty buckets around in the different dispensers. I tried one more time and this time it worked perfectly. After, I added in one final block and button to completely finish the farm setup. With my bundles being a mess, I spent the rest of the night organizing my inventory. The final day of the first 100 days is here. I finished organizing and began wandering around what I had done so far. First, I headed over to the trading villager boxes, came back to the mob farm, and then went over to the iron farm. As I was getting closer to the breeding villager box, I noticed that one of the villagers was on the wall, but happily, it jumped back into the box. I got some leather and sugarcane before chopping down the large spruce tree. I traded sticks with the Fletchers, getting up to 43 emeralds. I ran back over to the iron farm, took the string, and waited for a little bit of iron to make a new anvil, completely forgetting I already had one in my house. I traded the extra bit of iron I had and bought 2 Fortune 2 books. I combined them together at the anvil in my house, forgetting the one that was now in my inventory. But then I added Fortune 3 to my pickaxe. I had one more look outside, then went to sleep to finish this 100 days. Thank you for watching this 100 days video and making it all the way through. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't, share it with other people, and leave a comment telling me if you think I can survive the next 100 days. Don't forget to check out these other videos if you enjoyed this one.